Hi, I'm Joe Polizzi, and this is the Content Inc. podcast. 5 minutes every Monday for content creators who desire to be content entrepreneurs. Hi again, it's Joe, and thanks so much for listening. I had the opportunity to read and review John Egan's new book, The Stripped Down Guide to Content Marketing. Now, content marketing can be tough to navigate, especially for beginners. And if you need to step up your content marketing efforts, even if you're a grizzly veteran, John's book is a big help. Pick up a copy in Kindle, paperback, or hard copy at johnegan.net. That's johnegan.net, JOHNEGAN.net. Get the stripped down guide to content marketing today. Now, most people I talk to don't actually know this, but I grew up in and around a funeral home. Well, maybe you do know this if you read my novel, The Will to Die. Sort of picked up on the fact that a funeral home is a key location in the story. But my grandfather, his name was Leo Groff, was an entrepreneur who ran the largest funeral home in Sandusky, Ohio. And if you don't know where Sandusky is, it's halfway between Toledo, Ohio and Cleveland, Ohio, and my apologies to our international listeners. While all my friends were playing basketball or pickup baseball games, I was hanging around the funeral home watching my grandfather and my uncle work. And this was not as bad as you're probably thinking. Actually, my grandfather was one of the main reasons I wanted to start my own business. By the time I was in my teens, my grandfather was hanging around the funeral home mostly to stay busy while my uncle ran the business. And I did quite a few odd jobs around the funeral home at that time. But my main job was to take my grandfather out to lunch every day and listen to his stories. And what an amazing opportunity that was for me. Now, one story in particular resonated with me. During the Depression, many of my grandfather's customers didn't have the money to pay for a funeral. Loved ones would come to my grandpa telling them they had no money, but they still wanted a proper burial for their deceased loved one. So my grandfather would do the embalming and funeral services in exchange for things like rings, lockets, bracelets, and trinkets of all kinds. A few years before my grandfather passed away, he showed me this old box, which had to be well over 50 years old. In the box, there were rings, lockets, bracelets, and trinkets that paid for all those funerals. Now, when I saw this, I asked why he didn't sell them for money or give them back, and he said, and I'll never forget this, he said, "Back in those days, pride was all some people had. They had nothing tangible, but they also wouldn't take any handouts. They were able to keep their pride by giving me these pieces of jewelry, so I couldn't give them back. And I also couldn't sell them, because each of these pieces is a reminder of a small thing that I could do that made a huge impact in someone's life." Now, why am I telling you this? This story is on the Content Inc. podcast because I learned so many amazing things from my grandfather, but the biggest is probably relevant to this story. Helping others is everything. Helping others through information is the core that runs the whole Content Inc. machine. Now, this Content Inc. approach, it's not saving the world, right? But to make it work, to build a business for yourself, you have to be helping first. That's why when I talk to companies about their pieces of content, I always tell them in their content calendar to add outcome. For each particular piece of content, the blog or podcast or video, what specifically are you doing to help that person get a better job or live a better life in some way? Yes, you want to be profitable and make a living, be financially sustainable, and you can with this model, but if that's the focus, you probably won't be successful. You have to be singularly focused on helping a specific group of people with everything you do in your content business. Again, your success is secondary. So, my grandfather taught me helping others comes first before the success of the business. It's funny, but at that time during the Depression, my grandfather was actually struggling financially as well, just like all of his customers. But he didn't hesitate to help others first. Now, I'm recording this in December, and I'm sure you're working the plan for a successful next year. Now is a really good time to figure out the who you're helping. Call them buyer personas, if you will, but having a clear idea of the who is the only real way you can be successful with your consistent helping content. And when you uncover that who, is it specific enough so that you can be like my grandfather, the one, maybe the only resource that can actually help that person because you know and understand their pain points so very well. Sit with this idea over the next couple weeks, will you? I mean, really lean into it. Who's your who? And are you really truly helping them every day, every week, every month? If you are, you have something to build on for a very successful content business. Thanks for listening. Now go out, find that audience, build that audience, and ultimately build a very successful content business.